Hello and welcome to another episode of the Jersey Nerds podcast. I'm Chris, and joining me this show are Hunter and Bpoe. Today, we plan to talk about the unveiling of the AHL's Henderson Silver Knights, the new QMJHL logo, and to continue our NHL Team Rundowns, talking about the best and worst uniforms of the Ottawa Senators, Tampa Bay Lightning, and San Jose Sharks. But first, it has been an incredibly eventful past couple of weeks in the United States, as protests against police brutality and racial profiling have occurred across the nation, sparked by the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis and fueled by the deaths of countless other unarmed black people at the hands of police nationwide. We decided not to record a podcast last week in order to not distract us or our listeners from these movements, and because there were and are more important messages to be delivered to the world than our opinions on sporting uniforms. With that in mind, we're going to start today's podcast with a discussion and a dialogue on these important issues and the impact the past 2 weeks have had, and hopefully will continue to have, on society and on sports. Now we're going to welcome in Hunter and Bpoe to kick off this important discussion.
How's it going? First of all, it's a rough situation for everyone, more so Black people than anyone else. It's a situation and a conversation that needed to happen and has to be had. It's nice to see lots of sports icons use their platforms to get the word out there. But as not a person of color myself, the only thing I can do is just learn and just listen to the problems and try to do my best to improve, because I'm sure everyone's guilty at some point of doing something that they even didn't realize was something that was affecting them. So just something we all have to work on.
Yeah, I think for sure one thing that for me and countless others this has helped with is raise awareness for everything that's going on, because I was beforehand blissfully ignorant of just how bad the situation was, and just seeing everything that's been coming out over the past couple of weeks, it's made me realize just how bad everything is and how important it actually is to speak up and say something or do whatever you possibly can to help out, especially those of us, who are a little bit more privileged in society and are a lot more easily able to actually do something.
Yeah, like these past few weeks, particularly through social media, it's been better to see people's voices heard, especially those that are oppressed, through and have been oppressed through history and through the systems that be in society. We can't deny that racism exists, and we're all hopefully trying to do everything we can to combat that, to fight against it. As far as sports goes, it's been really interesting to see the things that have happened in football and in hockey, as far as teams and organizations speaking out, and players as well. Um, as far as the NFL, shout out to their social team, who was able to get in direct contact with players and have them film, incredible statements, and the players putting that out themselves to kind of put pressure on the league. Um, so the NFL social team kind of standing up to the league and standing up for what they believe in. That was amazing to see. Um, in the hockey world, I think it's great that in all these teams, and all these organizations and players, they're standing up, they're making statements against racism, against racial injustice. Um, but also, I think in recent times we've really it's been highlighted the culture of racism that can be present, particularly in hockey. We've heard about incidents regarding Akeem Aliu, and I think back a few years to Wayne Simmons. I think it's great that the sports and the NHL communities are making these statements overall. I do hope that all these movements, both in sports and in society, that they all lead to actual change, actual systemic change, whether that be, just any organization, or any, system that has power to do that, or that is causing oppression, or trying to stay in control instead of, listening to people's voices. So I hope that all these movements lead to that actual change. In hockey, I hope it happens on the ice and in front offices. Because for years now they've had their "Hockey is for Everyone" campaign, and you just hope that every sport, and hopefully eventually our society as a whole, learns to live up to that.
Well said, Chris.
And I'll say to to anyone that's thinking, if they're tired of seeing things on their social media feeds, if they're tired of these conversations, if they want people to just, stick to what they know instead of speaking up and speaking their opinions, um, acknowledge that that's part of your privilege, to not be able to have these conversations, to not be able to have to speak up and have your voice heard, because there are a lot of people in the world that are trying to have their voice heard, against, being hurt, being oppressed, being, killed in many instances, as we've seen over the past few years. Like I said, it's one of the better things we have about social media, so people can make their voices heard, and they have lately, which is great. Um, but like we said, it's important for all of us to keep listening to others, to seek to understand the perspectives of others. Because the more we learn from others, the more we know, the better perspective we'll have on life and on living in this world.
I think it's actually a really good thing for a lot of us to be uncomfortable right now because that's kind of what's sparking the change. And like I said, I've learned a lot of new things over the past couple of weeks. And part of that was from being uncomfortable and challenging what I thought I knew beforehand. So it's if you're uncomfortable with seeing all of this right now, uh, good, honestly. It's important if you are uncomfortable with it to think really deeply and challenge what you already know and just look at everything that's coming out and just you know see what's happening and make up your own opinion about it. And I'd really hope that that opinion is that Black Lives Matter. And to address this too, a lot of people say all lives matter, and I don't think a lot of people disagree with that. But the main thing about it is that we need to focus more right now on the people who are more actively being oppressed and are a little bit more behind in society just due to the history of the country. And I don't think anybody who says Black Lives Matter don't think that all lives matter. That's not the point of what Black Lives Matter is.
Can I add on to that point?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that All Lives Matter was started as a response to Black Lives Matter and was rooted in white supremacy and being like, hey, like, we're better than blacks, blah blah blah. That's not like, if you see people supporting All Lives Matter, like, if they don't realize that background, then they are unknowingly supporting ideas of white supremacy and terrorism. So it's really important to educate people, whether it's like family members, friends, just random people online that are just being hateful. Like, if if you can do your part to spread, like, the true information about all this stuff, like, you have to educate yourself and others. That's the biggest thing here. That's the biggest thing you can do as an ally, really. So, yeah.
Thanks to our live studio audience for that.
No problem.
Yeah, and the situation as a whole has brought up a lot of stuff too, because I know at the beginning, a lot of people online always talked about how, like, oh, thank God this doesn't happen in Canada, and like it's starting to open up now that, like, no, this is just as big a problem in Canada as it is in the U.S. So it's opening the eyes to everybody, hopefully in the world, that this is a problem all over the world, and this is a problem that needs to be dealt with. So it's good that it's unfortunate that it had to happen in a situation like this where someone lost their life to get this started. But at the same time, it's a good that this conversation is starting now and that people are taking it seriously.
While we cannot stress enough the importance of these issues in the world today, this is the Jersey Nerds podcast. And while we know that each of us, and hopefully each of you listening as well, will continue to stand up against racism and to strive to make the world a better place, we know that you came here to listen to the podcast today for jersey and uniform related content. And so we will provide you with that content today. And hopefully, we hope to provide each of you listeners with a respite, with a small break from the realities of the global pandemic, from the absence of sports, and from the daily struggle against racism, against racial injustice, against inequality, against oppression. So hopefully you're able to find some rest in the much more meaningless things that we're going to talk about today. Huge thanks to Hunter and to Bpoe and to our live studio audience for participating in that conversation. And with that being said, let's dive into the rest of this episode. Starting off with some AHL news, the unveiling of the Henderson Silver Knights, the AHL affiliate of the Vegas Golden Knights, in case you didn't figure that out already. So yeah, it's nice to have some hockey news going. Although, as a recording, it looks like hockey is trying to they put a system in place to try to find a way to get playing again. So that's good for sports overall. The NBA is trying to come back in Orlando, I believe. So good for them.
I'm going to Disneyland.
Thought it was Disney World.
Sure, I don't know the difference, so
One is in California, one is in Florida, and those are on opposite sides of the country.
Yeah, but which one's which? I haven't been to either.
I'm pretty certain that Disney World is in Florida.
Good job.
I'm going to Disney World. I don't know, like
They're both Disney. It doesn't matter.
I'm going to a Disney resort.
I'm going to Disneyland Paris. Yeah, that's the same thing.
I'm going to Disney Town.
Yeah.
I'm going to Disneyland.
What? Oh gosh,
That doesn't exist. I made that up.
That's just Toontown in Disneyland is what that is.
I wish it existed.
Okay then.
Speaking of Love Childs,
the Henderson Silver Knights? Question mark?
I don't know. We've just been talking about Love Childs in the podcast, and you mentioned Toontown and Disneyland.
Well, yeah, well,
Bpoe, you're literally the only one that's mentioned Love Childs in the last 2 episodes.
I think you're right. Quarantine's really getting to me, guys.
Yeah.
Even though I have live studio audience next to me.
Yeah, that's very possible. Anywho, the newest AHL team, the Henderson Silver Knights, Henderson, Nevada, just outside Las Vegas, Nevada. So they've unveiled a logo along with a color scheme. We don't have any uniforms or anything like that yet. So the logo, it's pretty interesting. It's got a similar shape to the Vegas Golden Knights logo, but instead it's got kind of this chainmail horse head looking thing with golden eyes and an H formed by the middle of the logo itself. So yeah, let's just get an initial reaction to this logo and the word marks as well. I just say Henderson Silver Knights, similarly to how we have Vegas Golden Knights.
While the name Silver Knights kind of just seems like you kind of picked the the low-hanging fruit for the name, I think branding-wise, this is one of the best, if not the best, combos of NHL AHL branding with how they tie in together, but they aren't, it's not like the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. They tie in together really well, but they're still their own unique brand, and they're together but separate.
Yep, I'd have to agree there. Me and my buddy stayed up to watch the live stream whenever they did the unveiling, and we had to have a laugh because, like, at the beginning of the unveiling, I'm like, I don't care what happens as long as they don't call them the Silver Knights, and here we are. The branding's fantastic, like I'm sure we've all seen the work by some of the guys in their Vegas's graphics department on Twitter, but overall, like I feel like the name's a cop out, and I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get over that.
Not only Twitter as well, but their Instagram page for the unveiling. I don't, depending on how late you're listening to this after the unveiling, you might have to scroll back a little bit. But their first couple of posts and how they had the full profile layouts, it looked incredible. And it's also currently disrupted due to their Blackout Tuesday post. But I think we've just talked about that. That's a little bit more important. But if you end up discovering their page and hopefully everything's lined up properly at some point, that you can see just how great it looked.
Yeah, they have a neat little video with his original drawings and stuff. I think it's what Brady Hackmeister.
Yes, I believe
Um,
so.
they had the video of his original drawing of the logo and just like how it progressed, and it's really cool just to see the process behind everything.
Yeah, just talking about AHL teams in general. Like the first AHL game I saw not too long ago, a couple years back, was the Ontario Reign and the Stockton Heat. And you don't know any better. It just looks like Kings and Flames from a distance. With those AHL teams, it's really just a different logo, but everything else looks basically the same. I've seen some San Diego Gulls games as well, and they look basically like the Anaheim Ducks, but at least they have a light blue instead of a gold, so you can tell it's like a different team. It's still part of the same system. But Henderson, what they've done is, it's a good spinoff of the Golden Knights brand for sure. It's definitely not a carbon copy. Just enough elements to show like, hey, these are part of the same system. These are part of the same overarching brand, but it's also something completely different. Something that I find interesting is the fact that their primary colors are silver, gold, and black. The silver being an interesting choice because that's not what Vegas uses. Vegas uses a very dark gray with their black, gold, and a little red. So it'll be interesting to see how similar or how different the uniforms end up being from Vegas's.
So from what I see between the logos, like while they don't consider the dark gray as part of their color palette, they do use that same color throughout the logo, right? So do you think it'd be a bit of a stretch for them to still try and use it on the jerseys? Like overall, like I thought, with this the concept that Eric Dunkel put out, like I think that's pretty bang on what I think they would end up looking like, and that's pretty much just a copy of the Vegas jersey with silver instead and the gold switched and removal of the red.
Yeah, what we're referring to there, we can probably link it in the show notes. Concept by Eric Dunkel, who's at Dunkel Designs on Twitter at least. The Henderson Silver Knights concept that uses, it looks, I can't tell if it's a dark gray jersey or a black jersey, to be honest with you. But a black jersey would definitely be a good decision. Black with silver and gold accents would definitely be um, that would work just fine, and it would definitely keep it within the overall Vegas desert hockey brand or whatever they're trying to market themselves as.
To me, it looks, at least the dark jersey looks like it's dark gray because you can see the black in the logo looks a little bit darker. But I also don't know if that's maybe a template thing. On the away jersey, I can't tell as much if it's the same shade or if it's like a darker black.
Yeah, for the white jersey, it looks like it's black on the sleeves to me because the A is a different color of the gray, and it looks different from the sleeves. But
I
then
think
the
I think you might be right there.
but then the black the dark jersey looks like it's the dark gray because it doesn't line up with the black in the logo as much. And I think that's more of a template thing. I don't know. The way when I opened up the big picture, it kind of screwed up the resolution for me, so I can't really see it properly.
Yeah. Anywho, yeah. I mean, talking about that concept there, we have no idea what the actual team will do or when we'll see anything. But if any listeners out there have Henderson Silver Knights jersey concepts of their own, shameless plug here, make sure to send those into the Jersey Nerds Concepts Corner place thing. To submit a concept, you can send an email to jerseynerdsmedia@gmail.com. Use concept submission in the subject line, and you can be featured in our weekly Concept Corner over at our website. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what people can come up with as far as predictions or concepts as far as what direction Henderson could go. Because I think we all agree that they got excellent branding and excellent color scheme. And the only thing we'll be waiting for is to see how they make that look on the ice.
Another thing that I wonder too is the detailing in the logo, like the little, I guess, rivets on the chainmail armor and the pattern inside of the shield. Are they
Mhm.
going to be more like embroidered like Vegas's jersey is? I sure hope so, personally, because that's one of my favorite details of Vegas's jersey.
Yeah, you'd hope that they would go the extra mile for details like that at this point. I don't see why they wouldn't.
I also noticed too, not too long ago, looking at the logo, the subtle beveling that they have on the chainmail armor. If you look on like some of the left sides of the logo, you can see the white on the edges, like little white. I don't want to call them outlines, but if you take a look, hopefully you'll see what I mean. But then on the inner edges, you can see it's a gray instead. So there's like a actual like definite light source in there that's
Mhm.
guiding their decisions on that, which is a nice little detail, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, shout out to Brady Hackmeister and anybody else that worked on these logos and branding, because we all agree, excellent job there. And we're just waiting to see what'll come out for uniforms and anything else, and whenever they do take the ice, of course.
I was gonna say too, I had my only critique with the logo really is that the nose just didn't really look like part of the horse to me before. But I think I'm kind of seeing why that is, and that's because that one doesn't have any beveling on it.
Oh
So it
yeah,
looks
it's flat,
flat.
eh?
It looks flat in the logo while the rest of the horse head looks like it's coming out of the logo.
Hmm.
I think that's what it is actually. That's my only critique with it really. Other than that, I think they incorporated everything really well. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Chris. I thought you were moving on to the next topic.
Oh no, you're good. Well, that makes sense, but at the same time, it's like if there was beveling on there, that would kind of put it on like the same plane as everything else, and so I think the lack of it maybe shows a little depth in the logo, just subtly. Either way, a lot of really nice elements to that, and obviously we're pretty happy with it. So yeah, great job to everyone who worked on that, and so let's move on to our next topic here. The new logo for the QMJHL, which is the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Um, they had celebrated their 50th anniversary season before, and so they decided now for this year to tweak their logo ever so slightly. We can put a we'll put a link to it in the show notes or description or whatever. Because it's pretty similar. Because what they had before was just a stylized LHJMQ, which I'm not an expert, but I believe would be the French abbreviation for it.
That is correct.
With the tail of the Q moving into an underline and having a second underline underneath it. Now they just kind of cleaned up all the letter forms, all the angles, made it look a little cleaner, and the tail of the Q extends into only one underline now. So just quick thoughts, initial reaction to this tweak, this redesign.
It's a definite improvement if you ask me. I mean, I don't think there were too many problems with the old one. The old one I think was fine, but I think this one definitely sharpens it up quite a bit and brings it more to the modern era. And the only thing that I don't like about it as much is that the Q looks a little bit less like a Q than it did before. Um, like if somebody saw that logo and they didn't know what it was, maybe it might look like an O, or I think Justin mentioned in our chats a G. It kind of looks like. Um, but other than that, I really like that they kind of sharpened everything up, and I think it looks better with like only one like skate blade, so to speak. And all the spacing looks a little bit more clean. It just looks cleaner. I think that's the best way I can put it.
Yep, they definitely cleaned it up. Then yeah, like the only problem I have with the new logo is just the lost Q. Like every time I look at it now, I'm looking at it and seeing LHJMO because like you can see the G, but I almost disconnect the skate blade from the skate itself at that point. So it could have been improved upon there, but other than that, like all the other letters are cleaned up and they look a lot nicer than before.
LMFAHJMO.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be 100% open and honest. It took me until right now to realize the old logo was shaped like a skate. So call me stupid, call me uneducated,
Oof.
whatever. Um,
Bruh moment.
Yeah.
right, yeah. But just looking, from just a design perspective in general, the current logo, the modernized new one, I think it's important when you have a logo to have like a recognizable shape, like containing shape. And the first logo, it was definitely going for more of the skate shape. The one now looks a little more stylized, but it's definitely got a much cleaner shape. The first one you have all the letters together, and then you have the underlines underneath, and it feels like two separate things that are just connected by the tail of the Q. So the logo itself feels a lot more cohesive with this modernization. Again, our only problem is that the fact that it's a Q gets a little lost, but I guess people are gonna have to get used to that. At least they're not like the ECHL where their name doesn't stand for anything anymore. So I guess that's a plus.
Now that I look at the old logo too, I'm on the sportslogos.net page of the logo timeline. Looking at the old logo in a smaller size, that Q actually also looks more like an O there. So I guess that's also an issue that you have with the older one. But at a bigger size, it's still a lot easier to see the Q in the old one than it is the new one. But I feel like we've discussed that enough now.
So is this the Ontario Major Junior Hockey League now? Are we agreeing?
I don't think that they would like that.
No, probably not. By the way, just make your Qs look like Qs, people. Whether you're typing them, writing them, whatever. Um, so yeah, I think that's our assessment of the LHJMO. It's nicely done. Good job cleaning it up. But just focus on making that Q look like a Q a little bit. All the angles are consistent, and I'm pretty happy with what they were able to do there. But just legibility is important if you're trying to make it say something.
Make your Qs look like Qs. Chris Ramirez, 2020.
Well, I can't promise we'll be selling any T-shirts with that soon. But I appreciate the sentiment.
Can we please sell T-shirts on Redbubble that say, "Hey, have you heard about that Los Angeles Rams concept by Chris Ramirez"?
I don't think we can legally do that. I don't think we're allowed to put that on there.
We'll find a way.
We just need to reword the name.
Yeah.
Have you heard
Or
about
just
that
say-
not Los Angeles Rams concept by Chris
Just
Ramirez?
say Rams. They can't prove that it's Los Angeles.
You
Hey,
guys
have
heard
you heard
about
about
that?
that really good Rams concept?
Have you heard about that Ottawa Senators concept by HockeyByDesign?
No, but I heard it's garbage. I mean, wait, no, I haven't heard of it. Never mind.
Confused? Hey, have you guys heard of a BPC design?
Yeah, I heard he's a really big homer for Pittsburgh stuff.
It makes some fire pens content.
Yeah.
I heard he's a major nerd.
Probably just some bum.
Probably.
Sounds like
Okay.
the live studio audience is throwing fists. I heard he's a major blank.
Okay, let's move on from the roast of the podcast crew and move on to the NHL Team Rundowns continuing series where we've been going through the best and worst uniforms of every NHL franchise in reverse chronological order of when they were founded, established, started, whatever you want to say. Anywho, today we're starting with the Ottawa Senators. This will be an interesting one today. They started in 1992, at least this version of them did. That's the one we're talking about. They've kept it pretty consistent, wearing some combination of red, black, and white, with a little gold in there throughout their history. And so let's kick it off. Everybody's favorite uniform, favorite jersey of all time for the Ottawa Senators. Let's start with Bpoe because I want to hear Hunter's opinion second.
Mm-hmm.
I think their best one definitely has to be the. It's tough to pick between the two, but the Heritage Classic and the chest stripe alternate, that Heritage uniform, so to speak. I don't think the Senators. I think they're one of the teams with a relatively weak jersey history. If you ignore those two alternates, I'd say the inaugurals, or maybe the inaugural plus the white on the black jersey is the best. But other than that, I don't think they have the strongest uniform history. And while I don't want to see them use those heritage sets as a full-time set anytime soon, I would love to see them. We'll talk about that in the ideal stuff, but I'd love to see them just kind of modernize their brand that they have now. I still think that's currently the best that they've ever worn.
Hunter?
Well, there is a soft part of me that wants to agree with Bpoe with the Heritage Classic and the black alternates, because those are very nice jerseys. Their best, I'm going to have to go with 93-95 when they switched the font on the back to white. Those are classics, and probably the best ones, in my opinion, that they've ever had. Everything past 2008 is basically the same garbage Reebok template, just carried over. So,
And of course, a shout out again to NHLUniforms.com. That'll allow us to see an overarching history of every uniform that every team has worn. And that site has allowed me to look at these Ottawa Senators and completely agree with Bpoe. 100%. If I had to pick one single jersey, definitely the 2014 Heritage Classic. So as far as I know, their best jersey has been worn for one game, in my opinion, at least. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the problems and the bad jerseys they had before. But like Hunter said, the last 12 years or whatever have been just the same garbage Reebok Edge template carried over. It's unique. It's definitely not good, and I find it amazing that the best jerseys they've had with the double chest stripe um, have been worn so little in their history. And that's what I've got to say on those Ottawa Senators there as far as good things. Um, we'll definitely have some bad things to say. Let's do it now. Let's go to your least favorite uniform for the Ottawa Senators in their history. Bebo?
Before I go with my worst uniform, I just gotta say, since I'm not sure it's gonna be brought up otherwise, that original front-facing Senator logo that they brought in 1997, that used to scare me a little bit as a child. I just it looks so weird. I don't know how to describe it. It looks wrong. Um, I think I mentioned this last week, didn't I? I mentioned it in private if I didn't mention it on the podcast yet.
I think it snuck into the end when we were talking about Clown Burger and all those things, but
Right,
I'm
Clownburger.
not entirely sure.
But yeah, that thing used to scare me. But for the actual worst uniform, it's not it's a lukewarm take right here. It's their original Reebok Edge set, and I picked that over the Adidas one because while I'm not sure how I feel about like the blocky nature of the Adidas one versus the more fluid nature of the Reebok template, I think the font on the Reebok template is I don't really like it. I've never been a fan of it, and also kind of how it can sometimes overlap the, I don't want to call that striping, I guess side panels on the back isn't great. I think the block font fits a lot better. I've never hated that logo as much as everybody else seems to. I don't think it's a bad primary, even though I think they have better options, which again we'll get to that. Um, but it's just templated garbage. That's really all it is, and it's stuck around for a lot too long. It's a good thing they're the only ones in the league left with that thing, but it's stuck around for what, 10 years too long, if not more than that at this point. It's just I don't really know how else to describe it. It's just awful.
All right, let's get the expert's opinion. Hunter?
Well, I mean, calling me an expert might be a stretch, but yeah, in terms of that, I'm going to have to go with their first alternate with the Sens logo, or what we like to call the SNES jersey. That is probably the worst jersey they've ever worn. In terms of a set, I'd have to agree with Bpoe on the Reebok Edge aspect. I didn't hate the font. There were little details like it overlapping on the side panels that, would drive a person nuts. I just feel like the font was poorly executed on the template that they chose. In terms of the Adidas changeover, I actually like the blockiness of the template they use now, just because it matches the font better and it just looks a little cleaner in my opinion. But yeah, that first like 2008 to like 2011 when they wore the Reebok edges with that black alternate, like some dark times.
Yeah, I was a little confused when you said their first alternate jersey was your least favorite, because that's, definitely not that. You're
No,
referring to
the first
the
Reebok edge alternate.
the 2008 to 11 black jersey with
No,
just the word. No?
actually the black jersey from 2000 to 2007. That's my like
No.
niche favorite Sens jersey. Like it's not my all-time favorite, but like everybody hates on it because of the logo, and I love that jersey.
Yeah, but your least favorite is the 2008 to 2011 alternate. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yes.
Okay. Just confirming.
And I mean,
Sorry.
wouldn't that swoosh jersey technically have been the first alternate?
Yes, that would be the first
Because
alternate.
it was an alternate that was then promoted to home.
Mhm.
Yes. I also feel like people rip on that one a little too much for what it is. Like they did something a little outside the box, and sure, like that wouldn't have stuck around for long, but round of applause for trying at least.
Yeah, that's funny. That's because I'm gonna say, aside from the two jerseys we've identified as being the greatest in general, the 2014 Heritage Classic and the 11 to 17 black alternates, that are basically the same template. I'd say the Senators have never had a very good jersey at all.
Ouch. That
Yeah,
hurts.
you heard me. So none of these are very good. None of these are great. Um, it's funny to me. It amazes me. In the late '90s, just how prevalent red and black seemed to be in the NHL. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe the original Ottawa Senators, had it. I believe before Chicago ever did. But by the time you get to the '90s, you have Chicago with it, and you have New Jersey with it. You have Ottawa come in with red and black, and sure, they have some historical precedent. So it's like, sure, you can do that. But then in the late '90s, Buffalo's like, "Hey, can we get in on this?" And you're like, "Why?" But they did, and so I don't know why that color scheme was so heavily used in the late '90s, early 2000s.
And then like
Um,
Calgary and Carolina as well.
yeah, yeah, Carolina as well, because they didn't start until the '90s, the late '90s as well. So it's just like, I don't know what everybody was thinking then.
Black
Do we
and
want to
red, just those
count
edgy
Colorado
90s
as red and
colors.
black?
Did they?
Do we want to count Colorado as red and black because it's a shade of red?
No,
No.
they threw blue in there. They're saved.
True.
Um,
I guess the black is in there, but it's not as much black.
no.
Yeah.
Anywho, my runner-up pick for worst Senators jersey will be that first red jersey used from '97 to '07. As much as Hunter might disagree, yeah, I mean, yeah, you have that giant black swoosh wave looking thing. It's like, yeah, sure, they tried something outside the box. Does that mean it looked good? No, it doesn't. Not one bit.
I would like to clarify that I never said it was the best jersey. I just said that I give them props for trying something different at the time.
Which is
Sure.
which is just a nice way of saying it's terrible.
I knew it wasn't going to stick around for long. The
Mhm.
fact that they wore it for that many years, like 10 years, that's a bit of stretch to me. The
It's
biggest thing,
shocking.
well, I mean, the biggest thing that drives me nuts is that like the Sens have been rebranding for about 8 years now, apparently. But all the fans always talk about is bringing back the original 2D logo, and I don't even want them to do that. Like,
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. But yeah, my pick for worst jersey, agreeing with Hunter, that Reebok Edge black alternate. It's funny because I kind of like the number font they had in the Reebok days. It was unique at least, it was something different. But that alternate jersey is just terrible. So we've said all those terrible things. Move on to an ideal jersey, ideal uniform for the Senators. Bebo?
I think coming up with an ideal jersey is tough based on what they already have had, like without inventing an entirely new striping pattern. But logo wise, the fact that they have that modernized 2D Senator logo that fits with their current primary logo. The fact that they have that and have not used it really ever, like I don't think I've ever seen that thing outside of concepts and like sportslogos.net. I don't even know if they really use that on marketing stuff, and that's a shame because that logo, if they actually used it, would be by far the best one they've ever had. Um, but I mean, jersey wise, I think, again, it's tough to really say anything without inventing an entirely new striping pattern for them. Um, but I definitely wouldn't mind that sort of, I guess, laurel pattern, is it? Sublimated in the striping, kind of Carolina-esque, in the way that they had it on that 2000 to '07 black alternate. Uh, but, a little bit less uh, vibrant and more sublimated like Carolina has it.
Hunter?
So for me, it's tough because I do like the O jerseys for the Heritage Classics. I wouldn't hate seeing them as a full time logo, but I can also see the lack of appeal of having them as a full time logo. Um, like Bpoe, I don't hate the modernized Centurion as much as some people do. And the last thing I want to see is the 2D from like the 90s come back and they just bring back those jerseys. I feel like the striping pattern's a little out of date at this point and they need to do something different. So like ideally I'd like to see them keep the logo that they have and just update the striping pattern, make it look a little better. I love the idea of the laurel sublimated in the stripes. That's a good idea, and I've seen lots of concepts do that pretty effectively. The biggest thing that I'd like to see is I want them to bring gold back into their color palette more. Like they had that one jersey with the gold stripes and then they never touched it again. And the only thing on the jersey that's gold since they switched over to Reebok is the logo. So I'd like to see them bring more of that back into the jersey somehow.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. I just thought, I wonder if they could use metallic gold in their striping and then go Vegas style with that laurel pattern instead of Carolina sublimated style.
Yeah. Funny thing about that 2D modern logo too that you mentioned, they did use it briefly. I think like the first year that they had the Reebok Edge, they wore it on the pants as a badge, and then they never wore it again after that. They don't even use it in marketing material.
That's just a shame.
Yeah, it really is.
All right. Yeah, my ideal. I agree. That's a shame. That current alternate logo, the current 2D Senator that has never been used on any jersey, needs to go on the jersey. Um, Honestly, I think take the 2014 Heritage Classic template or the 11 to 17 alternate template, basically the same template. Take that and put your colors on it. Make a red version. Take a black version. Make a white version, and throw that 2D Senator on there, and you're pretty good, I would say. Maybe find a way to throw in a little gold in there, like on their current alternate. That was from the NHL 100 Classic. They have a large black stripe and a large white stripe with a little silver stripe in between. Perhaps make that gold or something. Yeah, I think that's a good template, and they have potential. They just have never really done anything good except for as an alternate or for a game. And yeah, it's sad.
Makes me cry.
Good, it should.
Good.
All right, and so now that Hunter's crying, we're going to move from Ottawa a little down south. We're going to Florida, and it's the Tampa Bay Lightning that also started play in 92-93. They've maintained some form, some combination of black, white, blue, and sometimes silver throughout their entire history from 92 until now. And so everybody's favorite uniform all time for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Bpoe?
I know a lot of people like their original set, or I guess the most modern version of that original set, the '01 to '07 with the block font on it. I don't hate that set. I don't think it's bad, but I think what they're wearing currently is actually best, and I think that's mainly just because of the amount of color in it compared to their other couple primary sets. And even like that original Bolts alternate that has a lot of blue on it, it's a little bit weak in every other category. I think it's I'm not huge on the striping pattern on that one personally. Um, And while I think I'll get into that in the ideal section, I think that they could improve on what they currently wear. I do like it a lot. I think it's the best that they've had. Um, and especially, I'm going to emphasize too the Adidas version, and with that away version without the script on top of the logo. I don't know why they ever had that in the first place on just the away version, but I think it's a lot better without it.
Hunter?
Yeah, I have to agree there. I think their current set's probably the best setup that they've had. The original uniforms do hold a soft spot for me, but at the same time, like they went a little nuts with their number fonts from '93 till they changed it in 2001. So their current set, I think it's simple, but it still like I really liked when they modernized the logo and simplified it to just one color. I think it looks really clean, and yeah, their current set's my favorite.
Now that I think about it, when you mentioned that, Hunter, is Tampa Bay, those Tampa Bay jerseys, is that the jersey set to have the most different number fonts without changing really anything else in the jersey? Because they had the sort of block font drop shadow the first year, italicized it, I think, the next year. Then they had that brush font for a couple years, and then they changed it back to a regular block font, all
Yeah,
on the same jersey template.
yeah, I think hands down Tampa would probably hold the record for most fonts used on a jersey within a 5-year span. Like,
Yeah, definitely. It's funny talking about, 'cause you're giving so much praise to the current set, which has basically remained unchanged since 2011. Um, Although it's something really interesting that I learned a while back but didn't really know. When they unveiled their uniforms in 2011, when they unveiled the whole rebrand, going to mostly just blue and white, they went to actually just blue and white. Any accents of black that are on the uniform now were added after the unveiling because people complained about how there wasn't any black at all, and they just looked like Toronto 2.0. So
I
I'm
mean,
not sure. I'm not sure how often that's happened where a team has made tweaks to a uniform after unveiling them, but before wearing them on the ice. Um, but yeah, I mean, you guys love their current set. It's funny with their current set. I never, from a distance, you can't tell that anything that's black is actually black. Like the inner outline of the numbers, I just kind of assumed it was blue for a long time before seeing it more closely, and I'm like, oh, that's black. Like what? Um, so I do think their current set is the cleanest set they've had. The 2011 to present home and away. Um, but I think I might go with the 2001 to 2007 set as my favorite, just because I feel like they did a better job in incorporating all of their colors and balancing those colors out. They arguably did a better job balancing the black and the blue with the Reebok Edge set, but that template is just so bad that I can't give it much praise other than that. So while it's not perfect, I think the '01 to '07 Stanley Cup run set, it's probably the I don't want to say the best they had, but it's better than a lot of other things they have had.
did you
Clearly, you can tell I'm going back and forth a little bit between that and their current set, but I'll go with that one just to be different.
did you guys notice that when they first changed over in 2011 that they kept the old logo on their alternate for a full season on the shoulders?
I think I did know that, yeah. And I think I kind of forgot about that too.
Didn't know, but I did not know that until I just saw
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, amazing, and I think we all can agree that the change they made in 2018, removing what was it 20? No, it was 2017. Excuse me, removing the Tampa Bay from the away jersey, removing that word mark from the away jersey. We can all agree that was a great move, right?
Fantastic move.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so definitely improved the jersey. But at the same time, the current set, from a distance, it almost is Toronto 2.0. But hey, they're trying to build out their own brand, and good for them. Anywho, moving on to the our least favorite uniforms for the Lightning. Yeah, Bpoe, do it.
I like how you say do it as if you know what it's going to be, but
Do
you
it.
100% do. Oh boy.
Just pull the
uh,
plug, people.
for anybody who doesn't know already what I'm going to say, it is their current alternate that was unveiled in 2018. Because, oh boy. I mean, kind of like what Hunter said, about Ottawa. I give them credit for stepping out of the box and trying something new. But man, this jersey, I already don't like black. This is pretty much just an entirely black jersey. Whenever you see it in game, it just a lot of times you can't even see the contrast between the black and the gradient, and it looks like it's a plain black jersey. It looks like a practice jersey quite more than anything else that it looks more like a practice jersey than their actual practice jerseys, because those at least have the Adidas striping on the side panels. This thing just looks plain black with a logo and numbers on it. And I don't know, there's like a clique of people that like this thing. I don't understand why. I think maybe it's fine as like streetwear or something to actually just wear, but as a hockey jersey, it just does not look like a hockey jersey at all. And I honestly think this might be the worst jersey in NHL history. It's
All right
that
then.
bad.
You're going to
Uh,
say that about a team that had literally a giant storm sublimated on their alternate at one point.
As we've been talking about though, that jersey at least has some charisma to it. It has
Oh,
something going on.
I
That
agree.
the Tampa Bay or that alternate gradient has nothing. It has nothing going on. So while
I
it may
mean,
not be as vibrantly terrible, it's just boringly terrible.
yeah, okay, that's fair. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't hate the gradient one. I agree with your point that it's more streetwear than a jersey. Like, I feel like that's the kind of shirt that you would probably sell as like one of those shirtsy things, Walmart quality things. I didn't realize how bad they looked on the ice until I actually looked. Like, I don't watch any Tampa Bay games. I probably should watch more, but obviously hockey hasn't been going on. But I just looked at some photos of them on the ice, and yeah, even they are a sight not to see. For my worst though, I'm gonna have to go with the all three jerseys from 2008 to 2011. I did not like the Reebok Edge changeover for Tampa. I did not like the change to the cartoonish looking logo. And I hate jerseys that have numbers on the shoulder. So just wait till San Jose comes up later. Yeah, it's just a bad set. And the Sens nickname jersey is one of my least favorites. And this Bolts jersey was no better.
when you said numbers on the shoulder, did you mean numbers on
The
the
chest,
chest?
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, you confused me too because I was like, wait a minute, when the hell did Tampa do that?
Numbers on the chest, sorry, is what I meant.
That's fair. Yeah.
Words.
Words indeed. I'm gonna use this time for some words. I'm just gonna air some grievances about Tampa Bay's entire jersey history. That 96 to 99 alternate, bold choice. Good job being bold, but of course it's terrible. It's awful. Like I said, it has some charisma, but it is bad. The Reebok Edge Tampa jerseys, the chest numbers, those are bad. Good job balancing colors, but those are bad. Um, I'll go with second place. Second place will be the 2014 to 17 alternate jersey, which it was incredible because I saw photos of when the LA Kings played against Tampa Bay wearing these jerseys. It looks like an intra-squad matchup is what it looks like. It just looks like a worse version of the Kings jerseys.
I
And
need
so
to
that's
look this one up now because I don't think I've ever seen
right,
that. I'm so
right.
glad
It's
that they
it's it's
decided to do
awful
that.
with the bolts running down the chest. It's awful. But yeah, I will agree with Bpoe. The worst jerseys, the current dark gray to black alternate gradient. It amazes me that Tampa can have blue, black, and white in their color schemes, and they're just like, oh, let's make one jersey of each instead of integrating those colors into the uniforms. Um, yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, hey, the fans wanted black in the jerseys. They're like, all right, here's black. Like,
Here's one outline.
yeah.
Yeah, one black number outline that you can't even see from anywhere in the stands.
Honestly, if
Incredible.
somebody had told me that, like, somebody told me that there was black in their jerseys, I would not believe you until I saw one up close.
Right. It's like the as I will call them forever, the Anaheim Angels. They have like navy blue trim and everything, but it's so thin, so far away, you think it's black. You don't even know. So it's like it's amazing how teams can put colors in. It's just so small. You don't even notice it. You don't even see it. It's like, why? Anywho, we've aired enough grievances, and I think we can go on to ideal uniforms, jerseys for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Bpoe.
I feel like Tampa is one of the teams that could pull off a black jersey, because like I remember whenever the that Bolts jersey was unveiled, that black one, the sock stripes on that thing actually look pretty nice. So I think that they could pull off a black jersey if they had enough blue, but that's not my ideal set personally. I think ideally I would take something similar to what they wear now, lighten the shade of blue to something more similar than what they wore in their inaugural season, add a little bit of black just as an accent color, not a lot of it. Because, like I mentioned, I think that first Bolts alternate, I don't like the striping on that. I think there's too much black, and I don't think it works too much or too well, that amount of black with the blue. And then personally, I think it would look really nice for them if they added some metallic silver. The kind of metallic striping on jerseys is honestly kind of one of my soft spots. I love it on Vegas. I love it on like Dallas, for example. I just think it looks really good whenever it's used in moderation, and I think Tampa Bay is exactly the type of team that could benefit from a little bit of metallic silver on there somewhere.
All right, Hunter.
I could definitely see the metallic silver taking a good spot in their lineup for sure. Ideally, I don't think there's anything wrong with their current set. Just change the alternate. Like obviously the gradient didn't work, and the fans want black. So just take the time to come up with a decent black jersey that isn't a gradient or a word mark across the front that looks like trash.
All right. In my opinion, the logo they have on the front looks great. It's recognizable, identifiable. I think keep that. Um, I think their current set needs to be used as a base for a complete and total makeover. If you're gonna use black, find a way to integrate it. Maybe take some inspiration from the inaugural set. I agree with Bpoe. Lightning the blue would be a neat thing to do. So like as I keep saying, they don't look quite like Toronto 2.0 from a distance. I think they find it that metallic silver would be a good thing to integrate, but I think they really need to just integrate more black into their current jerseys, into their current sets, so they don't look like just a blue and white team. Because all that can work. It's also it's pretty boring, and I think black's a huge part of their history, and they should embrace that, and throw in some silver too. Why not? Okay then, that's enough complaints about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let's go back a year to 1991 when an expansion team came into the NHL, and that was the San Jose Sharks, coming in with teal, black, and silver, using some combination of those colors throughout. Now having teal, black, white with a tiny bit of orange in there. They've had quite a few different jersey sets. Probably about 4 different major or minor redesigns throughout their history. So yeah, a lot to go through, and let's start with our favorite uniforms for the Sharks.
I think for their favorite ones, I'm definitely going to have to go with their inaugural set, specifically that teal one. And whenever they brought it back for Reebok, it just looked incredible in the modern era. Um, I I'm usually against teams bringing back their old jerseys as a primary set, but I would not be opposed to them doing that. Honestly, I think San Jose is a team that could do it well. Just modernize that logo. Um, I think that's the best they've ever worn. I really do. There's just something so simple and clean about a way that silver, or not the silver, I guess the gray works in the striping on that jersey. There's just something I just love that jersey.
Okay, we've got a lot of love here. Hunter?
I'm gonna have to agree with Bpoe. The inaugural set, by far their best set. It looked really good when they brought it back for the anniversary. The funny thing about the Sharks, though, is like they have a modernized version of their current logo that they just don't use. Have you guys seen those?
What do you mean a modernized version of their
Like
current logo?
someone took their current logo and they like redid it. So they have the one version of it on their shoulders this season, but they redid like the logo completely. They just don't use it.
Oh, the alternate logo,
Yeah.
not the primary. Oh gosh, you all right, yeah.
But like why, like I don't know. I kind of like that redone logo. Like I wish they would use it more. I don't know why they kind of just use it for a shoulder patch.
The shoulder patch on the current homes, or the recently redone one on the current alternates?
The current homes.
Yeah, with the not the shark in the triangle, but the kind of triangular shark, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It's hard to explain.
Indeed, yeah. Okay, for the Sharks, I'll agree that the inaugural set is very good. Little off topic, but I recently stumbled upon an article that Hockey by Design had done, that they shared. It was an interview they did back in 2011. The guy named Terry Smith, who was the designer of the both the original and the current Sharks primary logo. Um, and we can link that in the show notes if people want to read that. But anyway, it reminded me that when the Sharks came into existence, there hadn't been a team in the Western United States besides the Kings for 15 years. And so they were entering into uncharted waters, if you will. And clearly,
Boo. Boo.
Oh,
and
wow.
clearly they wanted a color scheme to match, a color scheme that would get people's attention. And I definitely, the teal and silver was a really bold choice that worked surprisingly well on the ice. Hadn't seen teal since the failed California Golden Seals, whatever they were called at the time they had teal, because they changed their name so many times. So I agree that that inaugural set is incredible. Um, but it's weird, I mean, I'm an LA Kings fan, so it's strange. I'm not sure why my opinion is the way it is. But I don't think their current set is the best that they've had. That's my personal favorite. I like the striping on it. I think it looks pretty clean. Of course, I like the current shark logo above the older, flatter, more cartoony looking one. And yeah, that's just where I stand on that. Nobody's punched me yet. That's pretty good.
You're too
Anywho,
far away.
but you can't punch through your microphone. What?
I can raise my hand.
Here,
I
let-
can boo you for your bad puns.
here I can try.
Boo.
How's that?
Ow!
Hurt.
That really hurt.
Yeah. Why did you punch my ear like that?
No violence on the podcast, Brendan.
Uh-oh.
Anywho, let's move on to something more positive, and it's whatever the worst Sharks uniform for you guys are. Let's go, Brendan.
Oof.
Their worst one, I'm gonna go with their current alternate, because to be honest, this thing's not that much better than the Tampa one that I just completely lambasted for like a minute straight. It's very black, and there's not much else going on. At least this one has some stripes on it, albeit very subtle stripes, just because the teal and the black don't contrast too well. But this one also has a very good redeeming element, which is that striping, or not the striping, the circuit board pattern that's kind of printed in between the striping. I don't want to say sublimated, because it's not really sublimated. It's like screen printed, kind of. Is that the word that I'm looking for?
Yeah, it's like directly printed on.
Yeah, that I think that's definitely a redeeming element that I'd love to see incorporated into more than just one alternate jersey. But other than that, I mean, you can't even see that on the ice. You can't. Sometimes you might even be able to, or you might hardly be able to see the striping on the ice. But there's more going on than Tampa, but it's still just very dark, very plain, and just there's not enough going on for me.
Okay, Hunter.
I am gonna have to go with their first set from 2007, 2008 when they switched over to Reebok. I will give them props for adding a little more orange to their jerseys. I think that looks really good. But overall, I just am not a fan of these jerseys. The numbers on the chest are unnecessary, and I don't know. There's other jerseys that they have that I think would have fit better.
I'll agree that the Reebok Edge scent, it's not great. I call it a definite improvement from what they had before. So for my least favorite Sharks jersey, it will be the 2001 to 2007 black alternate jersey. I mean, when you have a logo that's already mostly black and you throw it on a black jersey, that's already a pretty bad recipe for disaster. I'm not a huge fan of the number font they used during this era, but it's, at least they tried something different, as we tend to say that a lot. But the black alternate, there's just a teal and a white stripe on there, and that's really all it has going for it. It's definitely one of the most boring jerseys they've had in their history, and that's why it's my least favorite.
I don't really think this falls into any of the three categories that we go over, but I feel like whenever San Jose switched to Reebok Edge and they kind of redid everything, added the orange, I think those original Edge jerseys were a little bit too complex with both the arm striping, the hem striping, and the yoke. I think the yoke especially was just a little bit too much, and then apparently all of that stuff weighed them down a little bit too much, especially the hem stripes. I'm sure a lot of you will understand that joke. And they just took off way too much from their jerseys, and just the arm stripes isn't enough for me.
I feel like they found a good balance for the orange striping on their current set, but yeah, they definitely need to add some sort of hem striping to kind of complete the shirt for me, because it looks empty.
Yeah, we can talk about it as we're moving on to our ideal uniform for the Sharks. Obviously, you guys are. It's hard not to be a fan of their inaugural set. Like I like their current set. Obviously, we found some good things about every set they've had. So let's get official opinions on an ideal uniform.
Now, aside from the idea of just, taking that inaugural set, sticking a current logo on it, and calling it a day, I've had this idea in my head for a while that I need to flesh out more as a concept that I think
Uh
would
oh.
work really well for this team. And I
Uh
want to
oh.
see what you guys think of it because it's a very bold idea. Teal, white, and orange. No black, no gray. Just those three colors. Thoughts?
No.
Ooh.
Wow.
I mean, think of
You know,
I think it's
I
the Miami Dolphins who use that color scheme in the NFL. I feel like if anybody in the NHL can pull that off, it's the Sharks.
no, I like it in theory for sure.
I'd have to see
Um,
it.
yeah. Partially, you feel like you'd have to see it. But at the same time, I feel like the black does help to add a little balance in there between those. But I'm definitely not opposed to adding more orange in there and having those two be the standout colors.
Because yeah, I think I had that idea because a lot of times I see concepts that try to add more orange than what they have now. And at least personally, I feel like the black and the orange don't go well together whenever you also add teal and white. I feel like you kind of got to pick one or the other whenever it comes to that. You either got to pick the orange or pick the black to go with, which is kind of where I got that idea from.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Are you imagining a Sharks uniform that has absolutely zero black anywhere?
Correct.
So you are envisioning teal pants, I'd assume?
Ooh.
Maybe. I think I've also tried it with like a double teal, like a dark teal and then a lighter teal and then orange.
Okay, now you're just going crazy. Now you're just
I mean, hey, that's part of the point, right? I said it's a hot take. I said it's, a little bit out of the box.
Bpoe's the kind of guy that wants to bring back Cooperalls and just orange pants.
Okay, I'm not quite that crude.
orange Cooperalls. We are entering a new era, and there's a gradient somehow.
Oh my god.
White to orange. Not orange to white. White to orange
Oh my
Cooperall.
god. That's disgusting.
So wait, is the white on top or the bottom?
Yes.
I'm just picturing one of
It's-
those popsicles. It's like orange.
It's great.
I don't know what you guys are actually talking
The
about.
San Jose creamsicles.
Cooperalls were back in the day. Take this, and instead of the socks, they just go all the way down.
Oh.
They were literally just pants.
So if
Let me
if
look this up.
if
Let's get
if
live studio audiences reaction to Cooperalls for the first time.
Oh no.
Actually seeing them.
Scared.
There they are. There's some pictures of them.
Oh, that looks wrong.
Okay.
I don't have any other words than that looks wrong.
So
And
anyway,
now I'm just picturing those pants as orange creamsicles.
Nice.
great. So if anybody at the Sharks, or at Adidas is listening, white to orange to white Cooperalls is what the Sharks really need to complete their brand,
Yes.
according to Bpoe.
Yes, that is exactly what I just said.
Yes. 100% exactly what you just said.
Oh yeah,
Okay, let's.
now that I looked up the Cooperalls, I forgot that the Kamloops Blazers actually wore those not too long ago as like a throwback thing. I forgot
Oh
about that.
yeah, I forgot about that. That's
When
funny.
was that? It was a couple of years ago, but it wasn't that long ago. 2016, it looks like.
Speaking about forgetting things, let's forget everything Bpoe just said and go on to Hunter's ideas.
Valid.
For my ideal set, honestly, I'd like to just see them bring back the inaugural set and modernize it a little bit. No, a San Jose team without black on their jersey just seems jarring to me. So, like, you guys can make all your orange and teal concepts that you want, or your orange and white and orange gradient concepts. But I think they need to keep the black on there, and obviously they're going to keep the teal because that's what makes them unique. So
Yeah, I mean, like I've said, I'm a huge fan of their current set. If they were to make some tweaks to that, maybe make the striping just a little thicker, maybe the orange just a little more noticeable. But that's a really solid jersey. If I had to suggest something involving the inaugural jersey, yeah, sure, take that, modernize it a little bit. But I'm thinking, not replace the gray with orange, but find a way to integrate the orange in with the teal and the black. Working around with recoloring stripes and things, and maybe going for an even thickness on all of those, and of course the modernized shark logo. Um, so yeah, I think we can all agree that it's a okay. We can't all agree, but their inaugural set is incredible, amazing. Yeah, I'm not you're not entirely sure why they decided to go away from that, but at the same time, I like what they currently have. I think it's a good balance of things that they had before, and yeah, good for them for having a color scheme that nobody else has really had, has really owned, and it's definitely, and as much as I hate to say it, it's somewhat iconic. I can't say it's iconic just because L.A. Kings fan, so I can't say too many good things. Yeah, I mean it's something. I guess one more little critique about their current set is when you have their inaugural set definitely helped to show off the teal a lot more, especially on the away jersey. It's hard to find that balance between white and black and teal. Um, so if you're looking at their away uniform from a distance, yeah, you got the teal numbers and the teal main striping, but the black pants and the fact that you have a white helmet, which you better not have anything else, um, it does kind of distract from that. So if they could find a way to make the teal shine a little more and make the orange shine a little bit more while keeping in black, that'd be cool. Why not? And make sure to message us on Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media you want. If you want to reach us directly and either punch us in the face virtually, or to yell at us virtually for having stupid, uneducated opinions, that's perfectly fine. I
If
think
you
we're
want to
somewhat
tell
educated.
them that ice cream pants are a great idea for a hockey uniform, then, do your thing.
I'll be keeping an eye on the email for all the Twitter replies saying, "You guys are crazy for wanting to bring back Cooperalls. What's next? The flashing puck? Come on."
Oh.
Except we don't want it on TV. We want actual neon glow in the dark pucks,
Okay,
LED pucks on the ice.
this is way
Yes.
off topic, but I think it was, I don't remember what year it was exact. I think it might have been 2016 before Vegas. No, Vegas' uniforms were unveiled in the summer of 2017. Yeah. So it was April Fool's Day of that year. Sportslogos.net put out an April Fool's article for Vegas' jerseys that had actual LED lights inside of them that could be
Oh.
That's
activated
right.
from a distance, like for a goal or something like that. I actually think that would be dope. I don't. They could not be on constantly. They would have to be used in very specific circumstances. But I feel
Could
like
you
that
imagine?
could be
Could you imagine?
executed really well by somebody who has a really good creative vision about it.
Could you imagine every player on the ice's jersey lights up when they score a goal?
We're going into the future of hockey uniforms now.
That's nuts, man.
Do you say that in a good way or a bad way?
I'm not even sure. Like, I want to see it. I want to see it, but I don't know if it's going to be a good idea.
I mean, yeah. Honestly, that's the type of thing where they could implement it, and I could be like, "Oh, never mind." But just
Yeah,
in
well,
theory, I think that would be kind of cool if it was very, again, executed well. It would have to be very. It would have to not be very prominent.
we'll
It's
start
provocative. It gets the people going.
we'll start subtly. We'll have just the orange stripe on San Jose initially, and then eventually we'll move up to like entire jersey crests and entire stripes just glowing.
You could have an entirely glow-in-the-dark match where the puck glows and then like stripes on everyone's uniforms glow and like their numbers and stuff glow, and then yeah, that's it. You can't see anything. That's the game.
Breaking news: NHL sets records for most concussions in a single sporting match.
I'm not gonna lie, if the NHL wants to be innovative with technology in their jerseys, All-Star games are a great place to try that out. And so, we're making our pitch now. Put more LED lights into All-Star game jerseys and uniforms.
The 2025 NHL All-Star Game presented by Jersey Nerds Podcast.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay, can you imagine how much you'd have to pay for like a retail version that includes LED lights?
Oh no.
Oh, you raise a good point on that one.
Yikes.
Just imagine, like, you're in class or something like that, and all of a sudden you just light up.
Well, actually, so funny enough, a couple of years ago, I worked at the Sen store, and we sold these ugly Christmas sweaters that had LED lights in the chest that lit up. So, of course, I bought one. And I did a whole presentation in my physiotherapy class while I had the lights on.
Oh no.
That's incredible.
It was pretty great. Highlight of my college career right there.
Now imagine those, like, if they did make those jerseys real and they sold them with the LED lights. Imagine if they had the technology in them, like some of those like goal lights you can buy, where if the team scores in real life, it'll sync up and light up.
That's what I'm saying. Like, imagine if they scored a goal and everybody on like the home team, like all their jerseys just lit up in sync with the goal light.
No, imagine
No,
if not even the home team. Imagine the whole stands and the whole crowd lighting up. Because
all the
everybody.
retail jerseys light up at the same time when they score a goal. You're just like, you're not even watching the game. You're just chilling somewhere else. You're out with friends, and then your jersey lights up. And you're like, yes, they scored.
The Budweiser red jerseys.
Like, how comfortable would that be with if it had to have like a big old battery pack in it, especially if you're on the ice playing? Like, I feel like that's not too safe.
Yeah, how heavy is this thing gonna be?
As heavy as you want it to be.
Look, I haven't made one of these yet. I'm just saying, if they could implement it well.
Make one?
We're only in the development process.
I don't think I can. I don't think I have the technical know-how to do that.
You should just get some of those little like fairy lights you can get for like $1 and just string them through a jersey.
Just take a before every Vegas Golden Knights player goes on the ice, they just have to wrap Christmas lights around them.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is our official pitch to everyone at Bauer, at CCM, to Eric Botimer at Adidas. We want LED lights and jerseys, and we want gradient creamsicle Cooperalls. And we are demanding that both those things enter the NHL within the next 10 years.
I'm
Make it
always
so.
here for great ideas. I'm just saying.
Anywho, this has been a very productive and innovative episode of the of the podcast, and thanks to everyone for joining today, especially to our live studio audience.
No problem.
Thank you guys for your opinions, your ideas, and thank you guys for participating in the important discussion we had at the beginning of the podcast. So again, thanks to our listeners for supporting and listening. Check out all our socials and whatnot and all that, but you'll hear that at the end of the podcast. I don't need to tell you now. A guy that sounds a lot like me will tell you. It's very funny how that happens. Anyway, it's been a great episode. Thanks everybody here, and keep looking at jerseys, keep hoping for sports to return, and keep your voice active in fighting against racism every single day, because that's important to all of us here, and it should be important to all of us in the world. And make sure you start a petition for LED lights and jerseys and Cooperalls that have gradients on them.
And send concepts to the concept corner.
Indeed, yeah. If you have any Henderson Silver Knights concepts again, or just any other jersey concepts,
Any
follow
orange, teal, and white San Jose Sharks concepts to see if
Yes.
Hunter and Chris like them?
Yes.
You know what? Just get rid of the white and replace it with metallic silver, please.
If you got any LA Rams concepts by Chris Ramirez to send in.
Oh, yeah.
Send them to jerseynerdsmedia@gmail.com with concept submission in the subject line, and you'll be put in our weekly concept corner. And I believe we're accepting, concepts from any sport there. We got a lot of hockey jerseys there, but if you do have any sport concept, it could be, I don't care if it's a curling, wrestling, boxing, whatever sport concept you have.
Bring
Send that
on
in
the
there.
American Ultimate Disc League jerseys. Yeah.
Field hockey,
Someone
just
please submit a jersey that is a mashup of every single sport you can think of.
Oh, Jesus.
Please. I told you I'm here for good ideas.
You got 3 sleeves in the jersey, one for hockey, one for football and baseball, one for basketball. One of them's a long sleeve, one of them's short sleeve, and one of them's sleeveless.
Oh,
when you
no.
said
my-
when you said 3 sleeves, I just pictured a 3-armed person wearing a jersey. And I'm trying to picture where the third arm is, and I'm not entirely. I'm imagining like coming out of the chest.
Oh, see,
Oh
for
my
me, I
God.
would imagine it coming out of like between their shoulder blades.
You just got like what's that one
Ultimate
Pokemon
defense
with like
in
the
basketball.
4 arms on it?
Machamp?
Yeah, like that. My Pokemon knowledge is not as sharp as it used to be.
I'm being exposed as a Pokemon nerd now on the podcast.
I can't believe you forgot who Machamp was.
How
I'm
dare
personally offended.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, guys, thanks for this. Thanks for listening. It's been a good one. Next time, we'll probably continue our NHL Team Rundowns. We're going to go, the next teams up in the timeline will be the Devils, which were from 82, and the 4 WHA teams that came. That would be the Oilers, Whalers, Nordiques, and the former Winnipeg Jets.
You know, Chris,
Anyway.
we might not be able to talk about anybody on the Devils next podcast, or anybody except the Devils, because I think they just have way too much to talk about.
That's very possible. That's very true. We'll get to what we can, and anyway, everybody's got things to look forward to. Anywho, it's been a good one. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for listening to the Jersey Nerds podcast. Check out our website at jerseynerds.wordpress.com to find the latest news, concepts, podcasts, and more. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at _Jersey Nerds. You can find Chris on Twitter at CRamirez, CALIF, and on Instagram at Chris Ramirez Creative. You can find Hunter on Twitter at OpenSZN39 and on Instagram at HJ.Design661. You can find Bpoe on Twitter and Instagram at BBCDesign, or just find all the links down in the description of the episode.